Whenever I see these sort of incompetent, crazy people who currently sit in our House of Commons in Canada, it makes me ask the question, who's voting for these people? There are so many NDP and Liberal MPs who are just unfunctional. Their brains are pickled. You wonder if they're actually being elected into Parliament, or, I don't know, they're submitting 1,000 cereal box tops and it entitles them to a parliamentary seat, because these people don't actually have any skills whatsoever that would suggest to you that voters would actually want this person representing them. They just jam buzzwords together in Parliament and hope that it makes somewhat of a coherent sentence, so it seems like they're really taking it to the Conservatives, even though the Conservatives are in opposition and they should be focused on actually making good policy, or in the case of this NDP MP, holding the Liberals' feet to the fire for their failures. But the problem is the NDP doesn't actually think the Liberals are failing on anything. They just want the Liberals to double the spending on every single new dumb program they create. But I have a treat for you guys here today. It's NDP MP Bonita Zarillo from the riding of Port Moody, Coquitlam out in BC. She is going after federal Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre for, I guess, courting the incel vote. Here's her explaining her thoughts.
The member and I went to the same high school, and in grade 10, the required reading was The Handmaid's Tale. It was hard to read, Mr. Speaker, and I'll tell you what else is difficult to read what's happening down in the United States and the fact that the United States is looking at taking away a woman's right to choose. And I think about the fact that the member is courting incels for months and months and months at a time, and that
my goodness, this person got elected. This person had people show up to a polling station, take out a ballot, and consider for at least a decent amount of time, who am I going to vote for? Well, that Bonita Zarillo lady, she seems good. She seems like a good egg. And like a year later, a couple of years later, she's like, the leader of the opposition is courting incels for months and months and months and months. Like, what are you on about, lady? Remember when you were supposed to be holding the Liberals to account? But I guess she doesn't actually care about whatever the Liberals are doing. She just wants to do her own insult comedy tour on the federal Conservatives because she has nothing else other than attacking them, because frankly, she's going to lose to them in her riding, so she's very resentful. Ladies and gentlemen, here are the projections for her riding, so we can all rest easy that she's not going to be in Parliament very, very long here. She won the last election with 35% of the vote and now is projected at maybe only getting 28%, losing to the Conservatives, who will gain 45% of the vote. So even if she was able to pull off the votes she had last time, she would still not be able to win. Truly, there are so many of these weird swing ridings where all three parties are competitive, and the parties don't really check who their MP candidates are out there because, well, we're not even sure if we're really going to win this riding. So they put in these crazy eccentrics who just do not have both feet planted firmly on the ground. I want to move on to something else here, but like we truly need reform inside the political parties, because I guarantee this lady got pushed forward by NDP party insiders to be their candidate in this area. And it happens in every party. People who really didn't deserve to be in Parliament getting pushed through by party executives who are either appointing them or rigging nominations so that they can be the person sitting in that seat. Port Moody Coquitlam, I always get confused with that name because there is the provincial riding is Port Moody Burquitlam, and then the federal riding is Port Moody Coquitlam. But the fact that they have to suffer along with this lady who's never going to oppose the carbon tax, even though that's a riding where probably most people want it gone, is an absolute travesty of a bad political system. I'm not in favor of proportional representation, but again, we need some oversight in nominations for parties so that we actually know if that's what the members in that area wanted, rather than they are merely the person who have been painted the color of the party brand, and they're being elected sight unseen, assuming that they might, they're probably a generic conservative, liberal, NDP or Green Party politician, and they're like, not at all. They're somebody who should be locked up. But anyways, I want to move on to quickly ending this off, talking about this great clip of Mr. Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister, at a convention of mayors across Canada, still stumping, for some reason, I'm not sure why he talked about this on stage, stumping for the carbon tax, and then getting booed for it because obviously nobody actually believes the carbon tax is making us wealthier.
We're dropping inflation and we're being there for Canadians, not with cuts and austerity, and we're going to keep doing that. And on the carbon price, it actually puts more money in the pockets of 8 out of 10 Canadian families. That's a parliamentary budget officer who says that. It's absolutely true.
Okay, even
dropping in
Justin Trudeau seems a little bit crazy today as well with that last little laugh. It's not true. Yes, a parliamentary budget officer came out and said that, but that was after years of the PBO saying that it wasn't true. So after the Liberals changed their talking points on the carbon tax, they started calling it a price on pollution, and then they started marketing as the carbon rebate. That's when some hacky moron from the PBO came out and said, oh, actually, yeah, it does make you more money. It's the first tax in history that actually makes people more money on the rebate, even though it's a per unit tax that applies like 7-8 times before you buy the product that you want. And they're only giving you the rebate on what you're paying into the carbon tax, which in theory means that you're making money on it. But in the real world, you're not at all. And whenever I see people say, well, you know, the carbon tax is only contributing 1% to food inflation. Like, oh goodness, no, it's not. Yes, you can find that by crunching the numbers in a certain way, but that's why I get tired of people who have studies they want to send me. Oh, why? I have a study showing actually not enforcing the law lowers crime. Actually, decriminalizing drugs makes people use drugs less. I have a study to tell you that that's how it works. No, it's not how it works. You need to read studies through the lens of somebody with common sense and a prefrontal cortex. You need at least some brain function in order to read a study and know if these numbers are just fantasy numbers made up by just jamming enough formulas into a calculator and it sort of works. Every single terrible policy throughout world history had some expert who showed on paper that it was going to send us, soaring into the sky in terms of prosperity, and it didn't at all. And everyone who had a brain knew it wasn't going to, but some people allow experts to be able to basically gaslight them into thinking that we don't actually need to have rational, competent thought in order to like actually create prosperity. We can just say it's going to create prosperity and it will. But, we live in the real world and we should try and actually come up with real world solutions. Anyways, that should be it for me today, guys. I'll be back with another video later today. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, join the TNT Telegram channel in the description below, and if you really want to help us out in our legal endeavors fighting this defamation case from a billionaire Chinese developer who is suing us for defamation that he hasn't provided any evidence to prove in over 2.5 years of this case going on, you can contribute to the Give, Send, Go campaign in the description below. It's for all of our legal costs. That really helps us out if you can give anything to that, because then we can actually divert other money to actually growing the channel, upgrading our technology. I'm using a laptop camera right now. I'm not exactly swimming in great production values. So if you can contribute to that, really helps us out. Again, like, share, and subscribe. Have a great one, everyone.